He took the suppressant before the funeral. Not because he was ashamed, he had stopped being ashamed years ago. Because the moment anyone in the room caught his scent, the ceremony stopped being about the dead. And the dead deserved that much. His name was Nirvan, and he was 32 years old. He had been an Omega funeral arranger for 11 years. He had prepared over 4,000 bodies for their final farewells. He had never once let his designation interfere with the work. The work was all he had. That morning, the light came through the frosted windows of his preparation room like it always did, pale, clinical, forgiving nothing. He stood at the stainless steel table with his sleeves rolled to his elbows, his gloves already on, his face completely still. The body before him was a beta male, 71 years old, natural causes. The family had requested an open casket. That meant careful work on the hands. He had already finished the face. He worked in silence. That was his rule. No music. No phone. Just the quiet and the task. The door to his office was closed. The receptionist knew not to disturb him during preparation hours. He had built this system over a decade. Every piece of it was designed to keep him from having to think about anything except the body in front of him. Because if he stopped, if he let himself think, the thing he kept buried would surface. And he could not afford that. He finished the beta at 11:47. He washed his hands, removed his gloves, and walked to the front office to review the afternoon schedule. That was when he saw the name on the booking form. Not the deceased's name. That was listed as Kaelen Vance. But the person who had made the booking, the client requesting the arrangement, that name stopped him cold. Reizen Ashford. The Alpha Crime Archivist. Nirvan stood very still. The receptionist looked up from her desk. "Sir?" His waiting in the consultation room. He didn't answer immediately. He was still looking at the name. Everyone in the city knew that name. Reizen Ashford wasn't just an alpha. He was the alpha. The one who had built an underground archive of every major crime in the region for the last 15 years. The one who had taken down 3 organized crime networks with nothing but information. The one whose presence made rooms shift, made people lower their eyes, made even other alphas step back. And he was here, in Nirvan's funeral home, to arrange a funeral. Did he say anything? Nirvan asked. Just that he needed to speak with you personally. He's been waiting about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. An alpha of that caliber, waiting 20 minutes in a consultation room without demanding anything. That was unusual. That was deliberate. Nirvan nodded once. He walked to the consultation room. The door was slightly ajar. He pushed it open. Reizen Ashford was not what he expected. He had seen photographs. Stern, controlled, a face that looked carved from something harder than bone. But in person, the man looked tired. Not exhausted from work, not fatigued from a late night. Tired in the way a tree looks tired after a storm has passed through and stripped half its branches. Still standing. Still upright. But something essential had been taken. He was sitting with his hands flat on his thighs. His suit was expensive but unremarkable. Dark gray, no jewelry, no statement. His scent was suppressed. That was a choice. An alpha choosing to suppress in a room with another person was a statement of intent. I am not here as an alpha. I am here as a client. Nirvan sat across from him. Mr. Ashford. Thank you for seeing me without an appointment. The alpha's voice was low. Controlled. I apologize for the short notice. Short notice is not unusual in this work. Nirvan opened his notebook. I understand you're here about Kaelen Vance. A pause. Just a fraction of a second. But Nirvan caught it. Yes. Your relationship to the deceased. My husband. The word landed like a stone in still water. Nirvan did not react. He wrote it down. I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Ashford. Thank you. Did Mr. Vance have any specific requests for his service? Anything in writing? Reizen reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He placed it on the table between them. His hand lingered over it for a moment before he let go. Nirvan picked it up, unfolded it. The handwriting was careful, deliberate. The letter outlined a small ceremony, no more than 20 people, specific music, a particular set of flowers. And at the bottom, one additional request. If possible, I would like to be prepared by the person who runs the home. Not anyone else. Just him. Nirvan read it twice. He looked up. He named me specifically. I don't know. Reizen's eyes met his. He wrote that letter 5 years ago. He told me that if anything happened to him, I should bring it here. To this address. He never told me why. 5 years ago. Nirvan had been running this home for 6 years. He had never met Kaelen Vance. He was certain of that. But something in his chest, something that had nothing to do with memory, tightened. I'll handle the preparation personally, he said. When would you like to view the body? Now. The word came out faster than Reizen had intended. He corrected himself. If that's possible. I understand there are procedures. There are. Nirvan closed his notebook. But I can make an exception. He stood. Reizen stood with him. They walked down the hall together, and Nirvan could feel the Alpha's presence beside him. Controlled, contained, but immense. Like walking next to a held breath. They reached the cold storage room. Nirvan unlocked the door. The air shifted, colder, cleaner, sterile. The body lay on the center table, covered with a white sheet. Nirvan approached. Reizen stayed by the door. I can give you a moment alone, Nirvan said. No. Reizen's voice was quiet. I need you to stay. Nirvan nodded. He pulled the sheet down, slowly, exposing the face. Kaelen Vance had been beautiful. That was the first thing Nirvan registered. Even in death, the bone structure held grace. High cheekbones, a strong jaw, lips that had been well-shaped. He looked peaceful. He looked like someone who had not suffered. Nirvan began his standard visual assessment. He noted the skin tone, the signs of preservation, the condition of the hands visible above the sheet. And then he stopped. There was something on the body's neck. A mark. Faint. Almost invisible. A scent bond trace. Nirvan's hands stayed absolutely still. His face did not change. But inside, behind the wall he had built over 11 years, something moved. Scent bond traces faded after death. That was biology. The bond between an alpha and an omega was chemical, physical, alive. When one partner died, the trace faded within hours. Sometimes minutes. This trace was not faded. It was faint, yes, but still present. Still holding. That meant this omega had been bonded. And the trace was not Reizen's. Nirvan knew that without testing. The trace on Kaelen's neck was old. Years old. It belonged to a different alpha. He looked at Reizen's face. The alpha was watching him. Not the body. Him. Mr. Vance was bonded, Nirvan said. His voice was even. Yes. To someone else. Yes. Nirvan waited. Reizen's jaw tightened. He was bonded to someone before me. The bond was never broken. He refused to break it. I accepted that. You married a bonded omega. I loved a bonded omega. The correction came instantly. No hesitation. The bond was his. It belonged to his past. I didn't need to own it. Nirvan looked back at the body. At the faint trace on the neck. There was something wrong. Something he could not name. He leaned closer. Just slightly. He did not touch the mark. But he breathed in. Carefully, minimally. The way he had trained himself never to do with the dead. And the scent hit him. It was not the smell of decay. It was not the chemical sting of preservation fluid. It was something underneath. Something that had been there for years. Buried under layers of suppression and distance and time. He knew that scent. He did not know why. He did not know how. He had never seen this man's face in his life. He was certain of it. But his body knew. His omega, the part of him he had spent 11 years suppressing, recognized something in that trace. He straightened. His face was blank. His hands were steady. I'll begin preparation tomorrow morning, he said. You can pick a time for the viewing. 10 a.m. I'll have him ready. Reizen nodded. He looked at the body one last time. Then he turned and walked out. Nirvan stood alone in the cold room. The door clicked shut behind the Alpha. He looked at Kaelen's face. And for the first time in 11 years, he did not know what to do with what he felt. That night, Nirvan sat in his apartment and stared at the wall. He had not turned on the lights. He did not need them. The scent trace was still in his nose. In his memory. In his cells. He knew that scent. But when he tried to reach for the memory, when he tried to pull it up from wherever it was buried, there was nothing. Just a wall. Just the same blank emptiness that had been there for as long as he could remember. His childhood was a series of gaps. He knew that. He had always known that. There were years he could not account for, faces he could not remember, places he could not name. He had assumed it was trauma. He had assumed it was the natural fading of time. He had assumed a lot of things. Now, for the first time, he wondered if he had been wrong. He reached for his phone. He opened a search. He typed the name. Kaelen Vance. Nothing useful. A few social media profiles, all inactive. An article from 7 years ago about a charity event. A mention of Kaelen Vance attending with his husband, Reizen Ashford. That was all. He searched for Kaelen Vance's birth record. Nothing came up. He tried different spellings. Variations. Nothing. The man had no history before 7 years ago. Nirvan put the phone down. He sat in the dark for a long time. And in the silence, something he had forgotten began to stir. The next morning, Nirvan arrived at the funeral home before sunrise. This was not unusual. He often worked in the hours before the world woke, when the phone did not ring, when the families were not waiting, when he could move through the preparation room without being watched. But this morning was different. He knew it the moment he unlocked the door. The air inside felt heavier. The silence felt louder. He did not stop at his office. He went straight to the cold storage room. Kaelen was still there. Still covered. Still waiting. Nirvan pulled on his gloves. He adjusted the overhead light. He removed the sheet completely. For a long moment, he just looked. Kaelen Vance had been an Omega. That was clear from his build, slender, fine-boned, the kind of frame that society would have called delicate. But there was something else in the face. A hardness. A watchfulness. The kind of look a person develops when they have survived something they do not talk about. Nirvan knew that look. He saw it in the mirror every morning. He began his work. He did not think about the scent trace. He did not think about Reizen Ashford. He focused on the body, the washing, the positioning, the small adjustments that would make the open casket viewing bearable for the ones left behind. This was what he was good at. This was what he had trained himself to do. He worked for 2 hours. His hands moved with practiced precision. He did not make a single error. And then, when the preparation was complete, he sat down on the stool beside the table. He had never done that before. In 11 years, he had never sat beside a body after finishing his work. But he could not leave. The scent trace was still there. Fainter now. Fading. But still present. He reached up. Slowly. His gloved fingers hovered over the mark on Kaelen's neck. He knew that scent. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in 11 years, he let himself try to remember. Nothing came. Just the wall. Just the same blankness he had always carried. But behind the wall, behind the years of suppression and distance and careful control, something was breathing. He opened his eyes. He pulled his hand back. He stood up. He replaced the sheet. He walked out. And he did not tell anyone what he had felt. Reizen arrived at 9:45. 15 minutes early. Nirvan was waiting in the consultation room with the paperwork. "I can take you to see him now," Nirvan said. "Or we can discuss logistics first." "Now." They walked the same hallway. Same cold room. Same door. Nirvan opened it. He stood aside. Reizen walked in alone. Nirvan stayed in the doorway. He watched the Alpha approach the body. He watched the way Reizen's shoulders did not move, did not slump, did not shake. He watched him stop at the side of the table and look down at Kaelen's face. A full minute passed. No one spoke. Then Reizen reached out. His hand hovered over Kaelen's chest, not quite touching. Just hovering. Like he was afraid that if he made contact, the last bit of warmth would leave. I met him 7 years ago, Reizen said. His voice was quiet. Flat. He was not using that name then. Nirvan did not respond. He was running from something. I knew that the day I met him. He never told me what. And I never asked. A pause. I thought if I gave him enough time, enough safety, he would tell me when he was ready. But he never did. No. Reizen lowered his hand. He did not touch the body. The bond, he said. The one you noticed. He never told me whose it was. He only said that it belonged to someone from before. Someone he had lost. And that he would not break it because breaking it would mean losing the only thing he had left of that person. Nirvan's chest tightened. Do you know who it belonged to? He asked. Reizen shook his head. I tried to find out. Years ago. I traced every alpha he had ever been connected to. There was nothing. It was like the bond existed in isolation. Like the other half of it had disappeared from the world. Nirvan looked at Kaelen's face. The other half had disappeared from the world. Or it had been erased. Mr. Ashford, he said slowly. Has anyone claimed this body? Anyone besides you? No. Why? Because I need to do some research before I can complete the death certificate. There are gaps in Mr. Vance's records. Reizen turned. His eyes met Nirvan's. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Do what you need to do, Reizen said. Nirvan spent the afternoon in his office with the door locked. He started with the public records. Birth certificates, death certificates, marriage licenses. He searched for Kaelen Vance under every variation he could think of. Nothing before 7 years ago. He searched for Kaelen without the last name. Nothing. He searched for Omegas who had disappeared 7 years ago. The list was long. Too long. He sat back. He rubbed his face. He was missing something. Something obvious. Something that was sitting right in front of him. The scent. He knew that scent. His body knew that scent. But his memory would not let him access it. Why? Because he had trained himself not to remember. 11 years of suppression. 11 years of locking everything away. He had done it so thoroughly that he could not find the key anymore. But his body could. He looked at his own hands. He had an idea. A terrible one. One that went against every rule he had set for himself. He stood up. He walked to the cold storage room. He unlocked the door. He approached Kaelen's body. He removed his gloves. With his bare hand, he touched the scent bond mark on Kaelen's neck. And he opened himself. The wall cracked. Not broke, cracked. A single hairline fracture, running through the surface he had spent 11 years building. And through that crack, something poured through. Not a memory. Not a name. A feeling. Safety. Warmth. A hand holding his. A voice saying his name. Not his current name. A different name. A name he had not heard in decades. Nirvan. Don't be scared. I'm here. His hand jerked back. He stood in the cold room, breathing hard, his bare fingers tingling. He knew that voice. He had heard that voice when he was very young. When the world was small and safe and someone was always beside him. He had heard that voice in the dark, when he was afraid, when he could not sleep. I'm here. I'll always be here. He looked at Kaelen's face. And for the first time, he saw it. The same bone structure. The same jawline. The same shape of the eyes. He had seen that face every morning of his childhood. Because it was his face. He stumbled back. His back hit the wall. He slid down until he was sitting on the cold floor. I don't have a brother, he whispered. But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. He had always known it was a lie. That night, he searched for records of a twin birth. Nothing. No record of 2 Omega males born to the same mother. No record of a second child. He searched for adoptions. 4 foster placements. For anything that would explain why two identical faces existed in the same city without any official connection. He found nothing. And then, for reasons he could not explain, he searched for his own name. Not his current name. His original name. The one he had not used since he was 14 years old. The one his brother had called him. He found it in an archived police report from 23 years ago. A missing child report. Filed by a man who had never been found. The report listed one missing Omega male, age 9. And then, in the notes, a second name. Subject had a twin brother who was with him at the time of disappearance. Twin was later found alone, disoriented, with no memory of the incident. Investigation closed due to lack of evidence. He stared at the screen. He had been found alone. His brother had never been found. And he had been given a new name, a new identity, and a wall in his mind so thick that he had spent 23 years not knowing his own brother existed. Not knowing that his brother had been alive all this time. Bonded to someone else. Married. Living under a different name. Not knowing that his brother had died alone. In a city they had both lived in for years, without ever reaching out. Without ever trying to find him. Because his brother had probably thought he was dead too. Nirvan closed the laptop. He sat in the dark. And for the first time in 11 years, he cried. He did not sleep that night. He sat in his apartment with the lights off, the laptop closed, his hands resting empty on his knees. The tears had stopped. Something else had taken their place. A hollow, cold sensation that he did not recognize. It was not grief. Grief had shape. Grief had a direction. This was just an absence. A negative space where something should have been. He had a brother. He had always had a brother. 18 minutes older. A face that mirrored his own. A voice that had called him by a name he had not heard in 23 years. And he had forgotten. Not just forgotten. He had been made to forget. Someone had erased that memory. Someone had taken a 9-year-old boy who had watched his twin disappear and rebuilt him into someone who did not know he was missing a piece of himself. Who had done that? And why? The questions circled. They did not land. They just kept moving. At 5:47 a.m., he showered. He dressed. He went to work. The funeral home was quiet. The morning light was still gray. He walked past the reception desk without stopping and went straight to his office. He opened the file on Kaelen Vance and read it again. Everything he had. Everything he knew. Which was almost nothing. He looked at the clock. Reizen Ashford would arrive at 10 a.m. for the viewing. The ceremony was scheduled for the following afternoon. Nirvan had less than 30 hours to decide what to do with what he had learned. He could say nothing. He could complete the preparation, oversee the ceremony, and let Kaelen Vance be buried with all his secrets intact. That was the professional choice. That was the safe choice. Or he could tell Reizen the truth. He did not know which option was worse. He was still sitting with the question when the front door opened. He heard footsteps, not the receptionist's. Heavier. Deliberate. Reizen Ashford. Early again. Nirvan stood. He walked to the consultation room. Reizen was already inside. Standing by the window. Not sitting. "You're here early," Nirvan said. "I couldn't sleep." The words were simple. The weight behind them was not. Nirvan closed the door. He sat down. He did not ask Reizen to sit. "Mr. Ashford, there is something I need to tell you." Reizen turned. His eyes were flat. Guarded. "About Kaelen." "About me." That got the Alpha's attention. Reizen's posture shifted, not aggressively, but alertly. The way a predator shifts when it senses a change in the wind. "I did research yesterday," Nirvan continued. "On Kaelen Vance. On his past. On why he had no records before 7 years ago. And I found something I was not expecting to find." He paused. "I found a report about a missing child. From 23 years ago." Reizen's eyes narrowed. "What does that have to do with Kaelen?" "Kaelen Vance and I are the same age." Nirvan's voice was steady. Deliberate. Each word placed carefully. "We have the same face. The same bone structure. The same scent. He let the silence stretch. Mr. Ashford. The alpha whose bond mark Kaelen carried. The one you could never trace. I think I know who it was. Who? It was me. The word hung in the air between them. Reizen did not move. Did not speak. His face went completely still. Kaelen was an Omega, Nirvan said. Bonded. You said the bond was never broken. You said it was old. Years old. He paused. I touched that mark yesterday. With my bare hand. And I felt something. What did you feel? A wall breaking. Nirvan's voice dropped. A memory. A voice. A brother I did not know I had. Reizen took a step forward. Then stopped. You're telling me Kaelen was your twin. I'm telling you that I don't know what I am. Nirvan looked down at his hands. But I know what I felt. And I know what the records say. And I know that Kaelen's bond mark reacted to my touch. That's not possible. Bond marks are exclusive to alphas. They don't. I know. Nirvan looked up. I know it's not possible. I've been an Omega my entire life. I've suppressed through 11 years of heats. I've never bonded with anyone. I've never wanted to. He held Reizen's gaze. But the mark on his neck recognized me. And I think I recognized it. Reizen stood perfectly still. For a long moment, the only sound in the room was the ticking of the wall clock. Then he sat down. He did not sit in the chair across from Nirvan. He sat on the edge of the consultation table, hands hanging loose between his knees, head bowed. 7 years, he said. His voice was rough. 7 years I loved him. 7 years I watched him carry that mark like a wound he would not let heal. 7 years I tried to find out who had hurt him. I don't think he was hurt. Nirvan said it quietly. I think he was protected. Protected by who? By someone who didn't exist anymore. Nirvan looked at the wall. By a twin brother who was supposed to be dead. By a memory he couldn't hold on to. Reizen lifted his head. You didn't know. No. You didn't know you had a brother. No. You didn't know that the man whose funeral you are arranging is your blood. I did not know. Nirvan's voice cracked. Not much. Just enough. I did not know he existed until yesterday. I did not know I had been erased until I found the file. I did not know that for 23 years, my entire adult life, I have been walking past strangers who might have known him. Who might have known me. He stopped. Breathed. And now he is dead. And I never got to meet him. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full. Full of everything that could not be said. Reizen broke it first. Your childhood memories, he said. You said they were missing. How much is missing? Most of it before age 12. Nirvan met his eyes. I have fragments. A room. A voice. A hand holding mine. I thought it was normal. I thought everyone forgot. They don't. I know that now. Reizen stood. He walked to the window. His back was to Nirvan. There is something else, he said. Something I didn't tell you yesterday. Nirvan waited. I knew who you were. The words landed like a blade. What? The moment I walked into this funeral home. Reizen did not turn around. The moment I saw your name on the door. I knew. You knew. I knew you were his twin. I knew you existed. I knew you were an Omega funeral arranger in this city. I knew everything. Nirvan could not breathe. I have been watching you for 3 years. Reizen's voice was flat. Controlled. Not stalking. Not threatening. Watching. Learning. Because Kaelen asked me to. He asked you. He asked me to find you. Before he died. Reizen finally turned. His face was unreadable. He knew he was sick. He knew he did not have much time. And the one thing he wanted, the only thing he wanted, was to know that you were safe. Nirvan's hands were shaking. He did not try to stop them. He never contacted me, he said. He never reached out. He couldn't. Reizen's voice broke. Just slightly. He was protecting you. From something. He never told me what. He only said that if he ever reached out, if he ever tried to find you, the people who had taken his memory would find you too. Who? Nirvan's voice was barely a whisper. Who took our memory? I don't know. He never told me. Reizen stepped closer. But I have spent the last 3 years trying to find out. And now that you know the truth, now that you remember, they will come for you too. Nirvan stared at him. That's why you came here, he said slowly. Not for a funeral. I came for a funeral. Reizen's voice was quiet. I loved him. I genuinely loved him. And I am genuinely arranging his funeral. He paused. But I also came to finish what he started. To find you. To tell you the truth. He held Nirvan's gaze. And to keep you alive. They stood in the small room, 2 men bound by a dead man they had both loved in different ways, and the weight of everything unsaid pressed down on them like a physical force. Who are they? Nirvan asked. I don't know yet. Then how do you plan to keep me alive? Reizen's jaw tightened. By staying close to you. By making sure you are never alone. By using every resource I have to find out who erased your memory before they decide to finish the job. Stay close to me. Nirvan repeated the words. You're an alpha crime archivist with a reputation that makes other alphas step back. One of the most powerful men in the city. And you're telling me you want to stay close to an Omega funeral arranger. Yes. Why? Reizen looked at him. And for the first time, Nirvan saw something in the alpha's eyes that he had not seen before. Not calculation. Not strategy. Vulnerability. Because he loved you, Reizen said. In the 7 years I knew him, he never stopped loving you. He talked about you in his sleep. He cried for you when he thought I could not hear. He carried your bond mark on his neck for 23 years because breaking it would mean letting go of the only proof he had that you existed. His voice dropped. And I loved him. So I am going to protect you. Because protecting you is the only thing he asked me to do before he died. Nirvan did not know what to say. He did not know what to feel. But somewhere deep inside, behind the wall he had spent 11 years building, something shifted. He looked at Kaelen's file on the desk. At the face that was his own. At the brother he had never known. And for the first time in his life, he did not want to suppress what he was feeling. I need to see his body again, he said. Before the viewing. Reizen nodded. I'll wait. Nirvan stood alone in the cold storage room. Kaelen's face was peaceful. Prepared. Ready. He reached out. Touched his brother's cheek. I don't remember you, he whispered. But I remember your voice. He closed his eyes. And this time, he did not fight the crack in the wall. The viewing was attended by 17 people. Nirvan counted them from his position near the back wall, a habit born from years of observing grieving families. He noted the way each person moved, how long they stood at the casket, whether they touched the glass or kept their hands at their sides. None of them mattered except one. Reizen stood at the head of the casket for the entire hour. He did not sit. He did not speak to anyone who approached him. He simply stood, one hand resting on the edge of the polished wood, and looked at Kaelen's face. Nirvan watched him. He could not help it. There was something in the alpha's stillness that hurt to witness. Not the dramatic grief of someone performing loss for an audience. Something quieter. Something that had been lived with for years. 7 years of loving someone who carried another man's bond mark. 7 years of knowing he would never be first. 7 years of choosing to stay anyway. Nirvan looked away. When the viewing ended and the last guest left, Reizen remained. You don't have to stay, Nirvan said from the doorway. I know. The funeral home closes in an hour. I know. Nirvan hesitated. Then he walked in and stood beside Reizen at the casket. I touched the mark again, he said quietly. After you left this morning. Reizen did not react. More came through this time. Not just the voice. Images. Nirvan paused. A room. A small room with a blue blanket on the bed. 2 cups on the table. Someone laughing. Kaelen. I think so. I think it was him. He looked down at his brother's face. I think we were happy. Before. Before what? Before someone took it. Reizen turned to him. Are you sure you want to know? It was the first direct question the Alpha had asked that was not about logistics. It was a test. Not of Nirvan's memory, of his willingness to carry the burden that came with it. I spent 11 years not knowing, Nirvan said. I didn't know I was empty because I had never been full. Now I know. I can't go back to not knowing. Reizen nodded slowly. Then come with me. Way. To the archive. The archive was not what Nirvan expected. He had imagined a building. A secured facility. Guarded entrances and reinforced doors. Instead, Reizen led him through a narrow alley in the old district, down a flight of stairs that looked abandoned, through a door that appeared to lead to a boiler room. Behind that door was a corridor. Behind that corridor was a room the size of a warehouse. Nirvan stopped at the threshold. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling. Thousands of boxes. Hundreds of file cabinets. Maps on the walls, photographs pinned to boards, strings connecting faces and dates and locations. It was organized chaos, controlled by a system only the creator understood. This is everything, Reizen said. 15 years of documentation. Every crime network in the region. Every unsolved disappearance. Every erased identity. And my brother. Reizen walked to a section near the back. He pulled a single file from a shelf and held it out. Nirvan took it. His hands were steady. He opened it. Inside was a photograph. 2 boys. Identical. Maybe 8 or 9 years old. Both smiling. Both holding hands. His breath caught. That's you, Reizen said quietly. And that's Kaelen. The only photograph I could find. It was hidden inside a book he kept under his bed. Nirvan stared at the faces. His face. His brother's face. They looked happy. I don't remember this, he said. You will. Nirvan looked up. How do you know? Because I have been researching memory suppression for 3 years. Because I have talked to every specialist in the country who would speak to me. Because Kaelen told me enough before he died for me to understand what was done to you. Reizen met his eyes. The memory is not gone. It was buried. Artificially. With a combination of drugs and psychological conditioning. Can it be reversed? Yes. The word hung in the air. But there's a cost. Nirvan nodded. There's always a cost. The people who did this to you will know the moment you start recovering. The suppression was designed to be permanent. If it breaks, whoever installed it will be alerted. Reizen's jaw tightened. They have waited 23 years to make sure you never remembered. They will not let you remember without a fight. Who are they? I don't have a name. But I have leads. Reizen opened a second file. Kaelen changed his identity 7 years ago. He was running from someone. He never told me who, but he left clues. Locations he avoided. People he refused to see. I cross-referenced everything. He pulled out a map, marked with red circles. Every place he avoided is connected to one institution. A research facility that operated 30 years ago. Officially, it was a medical center specializing in Omega reproductive health. Unofficially, they experimented. Nirvan finished. They experimented. Reizen's voice was hard. On Omegas. On children. On twins. Nirvan looked at the map. At the red circles. One of them was a building 3 blocks from where he had grown up. They took our memory, he said quietly. Because we saw something. Because we knew something. Because we were twins and they wanted to study what that meant. I don't know. But I think Kaelen remembered. I think he remembered enough to run. And I think he stayed hidden for 7 years because he knew that if they found him, they would find you too. Nirvan closed the file. I want to remember. Reizen was silent. I know the cost, Nirvan said. I know what it means. But I have spent 23 years being a person who was made, not born. I want to know who I was before they erased me. Reizen held his gaze. Then I'll help you. They worked through the night. Reizen had a process. He laid out every piece of information he had collected. Documents, photographs, timelines, testimonies from people who had known the facility. He walked Nirvan through each piece, speaking in a low, steady voice, watching for any flicker of recognition. At first, nothing. Then, at 3 a.m., Nirvan picked up a photograph of a building. A concrete structure. Unmarked. I know this place. Reizen leaned forward. Are you sure? I don't know why I know it, but I know it. He touched the image. There was a window. On the second floor. I used to look out of it and watch the cars. You were kept there. We were both kept there. Reizen pulled out another document. A list of names. Staff members from the facility. Nirvan's eyes moved down the list. Stopped on one name. Dr. Marcin Vale. Something cold ran through him. That name, he said. I know that name. He was the director. He's been dead for 15 years. Car accident. No, Nirvan shook his head. He's not dead. Reizen went still. What? I've seen him. Nirvan looked up. He came to my funeral home 3 months ago to arrange a funeral for a woman who didn't exist. Reizen's expression shifted. You remembered this just now. It came back when I saw the name. Nirvan's heart was beating faster. He used a different name. A fake name. But his face. I remember his face from when I was a child. Silence. Then Reizen stood. He walked to a computer terminal at the back of the room. His fingers moved across the keyboard. He came to your funeral home 3 months ago. Yes. Did he see you? He spoke to me. Directly. Reizen turned. His face was hard. Then they already know where you are. Nirvan felt the words land like a blow. They have been watching you, Reizen said. Probably for months. Waiting. Seeing if the suppression held. They would have seen nothing. I didn't remember anything until you touched Kaelen's bond mark. Reizen's voice was urgent now. That mark was the trigger. Kaelen knew that. He kept the bond unbroken because he knew it was the only way to reach you. He knew that if you ever touched it, the suppression would begin to crack. Nirvan stood very still. Your brother set this in motion before he died, Reizen said. He knew you would find him through the funeral. He knew I would bring you to his body. He knew you would feel the bond. He stepped closer. Kaelen did not just want you to remember. He wanted you to survive. Nirvan looked at the photograph of the two boys. The same face. The same smile. 18 minutes older. And he had spent his entire life protecting his little brother, even from the grave. Then we do what he wanted, Nirvan said. We survive. Reizen's hand closed around his wrist. Not hard. Just there. Together. It was not a question. Nirvan did not pull away. The funeral was held the next afternoon. The sky was grey, the air heavy with the promise of rain that never came. 22 people gathered around the gravesite. The 17 from the viewing plus 5 others who had arrived too late to see the body. Nirvan stood apart from them, near a tree at the edge of the cemetery, watching. Reizen spoke. Not a eulogy. He had told Nirvan he could not do that. Just a few words. A goodbye. He was the bravest person I ever knew. Not because he fought. Because he kept living when living was harder than giving up. Nirvan watched the casket lower into the ground. Watched the earth cover his brother's body. He did not cry. He had done that already. Alone, in the dark, before the wall had cracked open the rest of the way. Now he just felt empty. Not the cold emptiness he had carried for 11 years. A different kind. A fresh one. The shape of someone he had just met and already lost. After the burial, the guests dispersed. Nirvan stayed. Reizen stayed with him. They stood in silence until the cemetery workers had finished and the grave was covered. Until the only sound was the wind moving through the bare branches above them. I have something, Reizen said finally. Something Kaelen left for you. He reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope. Plain white. Unsealed. Nirvan took it. His hands were steady. Inside was a letter. Handwritten. In the same careful script as the funeral instructions. He read it standing at his brother's grave. Dear brother, if you are reading this, I am already gone. And you have already begun to remember. I am sorry. I am so sorry I never found you sooner. I am sorry I let them take you away from me. I am sorry I spent 23 years hiding while you lived a life that was not yours. I remember everything. I always did. They tried to take my memory too, but it did not work. Not fully. I remembered enough to run. Enough to hide. Enough to find Reizen, who became my anchor when I had nothing else. I remembered you. Every day. Every night. I remembered your face. I remembered your voice. I remembered the way you used to hold my hand when we were little and you were scared. You were always scared. But you never let go. I am sorry I let go. I wanted to find you. I wanted to tell you everything. But I could not risk it. If they had found me, they would have found you. And I could not let them take you again. So I waited. I planned. I made sure that when I died, Reizen would bring you to me. That your hand would touch my skin. That the bond mark, find it. That the mark would wake you up. You are the only family I ever had. And I spent my whole life trying to protect you. I hope I did enough. I hope you can forgive me. I hope you can remember the good parts. The parts before they took us. The parts where we were just two boys who belonged to each other. I loved you then. I love you now. I will love you after I am gone. Be happy, brother. For both of us. Kaelen. Nirvan folded the letter. Put it in his pocket. He looked at the grave. He asked me to be happy, he said. Are you going to try? Nirvan turned to Reizen. The Alpha was watching him with an expression he could not read. I don't know what happy looks like, he said. I've spent too long not feeling anything to recognize it. Then start with something smaller. Like what? Reizen stepped closer. Close enough that Nirvan could feel the warmth coming off him. Close enough that the suppressed scent, the thing the Alpha had been holding back since they met, was no longer fully contained. Like letting someone stay, Reizen said, without waiting for them to leave. Nirvan looked at him. You loved my brother. Yes. And I am not my brother. I know. Reizen's voice was quiet. I spent 7 years learning that. Learning that no one could replace him. Learning that I would never love anyone the way I loved him. He paused. But I also spent 3 years watching you. Learning you. Seeing the man Kaelen talked about. The brother he never stopped loving. His voice dropped. I don't love you because you remind me of him. I love you because of who you are becoming now that the wall is breaking. The words landed somewhere deep. Somewhere Nirvan had not let anyone reach. Your brother asked me to protect you, Reizen said. But I am not doing this because he asked. I am doing this because I choose to. Nirvan did not know what to say. So he said nothing. He just stood there, at his brother's grave, with the Alpha who had loved the wrong twin for 7 years. And he did not walk away. That night, they sat in Reizen's apartment. It was not what Nirvan had expected. No cold minimalist design, no imposing displays of power. Just a small flat with worn furniture, books stacked on every surface, and a single photograph on the mantelpiece. Kaelen, alive, smiling. Reizen made tea. They drank it in silence. The facility, Nirvan said finally. The one from the photograph. I want to see it. Reizen set down his cup. It was demolished 8 years ago. Then I want to see where it used to be. Why? Because I think that's where it started. Nirvan met his eyes. I think that's where they took us. Where they did whatever they did. And I think that if I stand there, I will remember more. Reizen considered this. It's in the industrial district. Abandoned now. Nothing left but concrete foundations. Take me there. Reizen did not argue. The industrial district at night was a graveyard of forgotten buildings. Warehouses with broken windows. Factories with rusted gates. Streets that had not seen traffic in years. They stopped at the end of a dead-end road. A chain-link fence surrounded an empty lot. Beyond it, nothing but concrete slabs and weeds. This was it, Reizen said. Nirvan got out of the car. He walked to the fence. He did not try to climb it. He just stood there, looking at the empty space, waiting for something to come. And it did. Not a flood. Not a crash. Just a quiet rising, like water seeping through a crack in a dam. A room. White walls. A bed with no sheets. A window too high to reach. A hand. Small. Warm. Holding his. Don't look at them. Look at me. Just look at me. His brother's voice. Steady. Calm. Even though they were both terrified. I won't let them hurt you. Nirvan closed his eyes. I promise. The memory faded. He stood in the dark, his hands gripping the chain-link fence, his breath coming faster than it should. Reizen was behind him. Close. Not touching. What did you see? Him. Nirvan's voice was rough. He was protecting me. Even then. Even when we were children. That was Kaelen. That was always Kaelen. Nirvan opened his eyes. He looked at the empty lot. They took us because we were twins, he said. Because they wanted to study how Omega twins shared bonds. How our sense connected. How we could feel each other across distances. He turned to face Reizen. We were experiments. And when we became too difficult to control, when we started remembering things we should not have, they erased us. Separately. At different times. So we could never find each other again. Reizen's face was hard. Do you know who gave the order? Yes. The word came out before Nirvan knew he was going to say it. The man who came to my funeral home. Dr. Kaelen Vance. He was the one who erased me. Nirvan's voice was steady now. I remember his face. I remember his voice. I remember him telling me that my brother was dead. A long silence. He's still alive, Reizen said. You said you saw him 3 months ago. Yes. Then we find him. We make him tell us everything. Reizen's eyes were dark. And then we end this. Nirvan looked at him. For the first time in 11 years, he did not feel empty. He felt something else. Something that felt almost like purpose. Okay, he said. They drove back through the empty streets. The city was quiet. The sky was beginning to lighten. Nirvan looked at the photograph tucked into his pocket. The one Reizen had given him. 2 boys. Identical. Holding hands. Be happy, brother. He did not know if he could do that. But he knew he could try. 2 days later, Nirvan received a message on his office phone. A man's voice. Calm. Familiar. Mr. Nirvan. I understand you have been asking questions about the facility. I would like to meet with you. Alone. To discuss the past you are trying to recover. A pause. I think you will find that what I have to tell you changes everything. The line went dead. Nirvan looked at the phone. Then he called Reizen. He contacted me. Who? Dr. Kaelen Vance. Nirvan's voice was quiet. He wants to meet. The silence on the other end stretched. It's a trap, Reizen said. Probably. Are you going? Nirvan looked at the photograph on his desk. 2 boys. 1 face. Yes. The meeting was set for midnight. An abandoned warehouse on the waterfront. The kind of place where no one would ask questions. Where sounds did not carry. Where a person could disappear and no one would notice until it was too late. Reizen had argued against it. Not because he thought Nirvan was wrong to go, but because he thought Nirvan should not go alone. If he wanted to talk, he would have chosen a coffee shop. He chose a warehouse. That means something. It means he is afraid, Nirvan had replied. He is an old man who has been hiding for years. He contacted me because he knows the suppression is breaking. He wants to control the narrative before I remember enough to act. Or he wants to kill you. If he wanted me dead, he could have done it at any point in the last 23 years. He has had access. He knew where I was. He visited my funeral home under a false name and I did not recognize him. Nirvan paused. He did not kill me then. He will not kill me now. He wants something else. Reizen had not liked it. But he had agreed to stay nearby. Out of sight. Listening. Nirvan had agreed to that. Now he stood at the entrance of the warehouse, the metal door slightly ajar, a single light glowing from somewhere inside. The air smelled of salt and rust. The wind carried the sound of water lapping against the piers. He pushed the door open and walked in. The interior was vast. Empty. A single chair sat in the middle of the concrete floor, and beside it, a small table with 2 glasses and a bottle of water. Standing near the back wall, half hidden in shadow, was a man. He was older than Nirvan remembered. 70, maybe more. His hair was grey, his face lined, his hands slightly unsteady as he adjusted his glasses. He looked frail. He looked harmless. Nirvan knew better. Dr. Vale. Mr. Nirvan. The man's voice was calm, almost warm. Thank you for coming. I know you had no reason to trust the invitation. I didn't come because I trust you. I came because I want answers. Then you came to the right place. Dr. Vale stepped forward into the light. I have been waiting for this conversation for a long time. Then talk. Dr. Vale gestured to the chair. Please, sit. Nirvan did not move. The old man sighed. He walked to the table, poured himself a glass of water, and sat down on the floor, not in the chair, but cross-legged on the concrete, like a man who had given up expecting comfort. You remember me now, he said. Not everything, but enough. I remember your face. Do you remember what I did? You erased my memory. You took my brother. You made me forget I ever had a family. Dr. Vale nodded slowly. That is accurate. But it is not the whole truth. Then tell me the whole truth. The old man looked at him. His eyes were tired. Not the tiredness of a long day, the tiredness of a lifetime. I did not choose to do what I did, he said. I was not the one who gave the orders. I was a researcher. I was told to study the bond between Omega twins. I was told to find ways to control it, to suppress it, to weaponize it if necessary. And you did. Yes, I did. His voice dropped. But I also tried to protect you. Nirvan's jaw tightened. Protect me? You erased my entire childhood. Because if I had not, they would have killed you. The words landed like a blow. The people who funded the facility were not interested in research, Dr. Vale continued. They were interested in control. They wanted to create Omegas who could be bonded against their will. Who could be used as weapons. Who could be programmed to forget, to obey, to serve. He looked up at Nirvan. You and your brother were the first successful subjects. Your bond was stronger than anything we had ever seen. You could feel each other across distances. You could share pain. You could share memories. You were the proof that the bond could be weaponized. But it didn't work, Nirvan said. We didn't become weapons. No, because we never weaponized you. Dr. Vale's voice was quiet. I sabotaged the project. I made sure the data was corrupted. I made sure the subjects were released. And I made sure that you and Kaelen were separated. Not because I wanted to hurt you, but because together, you were too powerful. Too visible. If they had found you together, they would have taken you both back. Nirvan stood very still. I erased your memory to protect you, Dr. Vale said. I gave you a new identity, a new life, a new name. I made sure you would never remember the facility. Never remember what you were capable of. Never remember your brother. You took him from me. I saved him. Dr. Vale's voice broke. I saved him the same way I saved you. I gave him a new identity. I helped him disappear. I watched him from a distance for years, making sure he was safe. And when he found Reizen, when I saw that he was finally loved, I let him go. Nirvan stared at him. Do you expect me to thank you? No, Dr. Vale shook his head. I expect you to hate me. And you have every right to. I took your brother from you. I took your memories. I took your childhood. He met Nirvan's eyes. But I also kept you alive. Both of you. And when I die, which will be soon, I want you to know the truth. So you can decide what to do with it. Nirvan did not speak. The old man reached into his pocket and pulled out a small key. He held it out. There is a safe deposit box at the bank on Harbor Street. The number is 17. Inside is everything I kept. All the original research. All the names of the people who funded the facility. All the records of what they planned to do. He placed the key on the table. Use it if you want to burn them to the ground. Or use it to bury them forever. I do not care which. I only care that the choice is yours. Nirvan looked at the key. He thought of Kaelen. Of the letter in his pocket. Of the photograph of two boys holding hands. He picked up the key. What about you? He asked. Dr. Vale smiled. A tired, hollow smile. I will be gone by morning. I have made my arrangements. He stood slowly, his joints creaking. Do not look for me, Mr. Nirvan. I have given you everything you need. The rest is up to you. He walked toward the back door of the warehouse. One more thing, he said without turning. Your brother's bond mark. The one he carried his whole life. Nirvan waited. It was not mine. It was not an alpha's. Dr. Vale paused. It was his own. He learned to bond himself. To carry a mark that had no other half. Because he knew that if he ever bonded to someone else, he would lose the only thing that connected him to you. He turned. His eyes met Nirvan's one last time. He carried your memory on his skin for 23 years. Because he never forgot. Because he never stopped loving you. Then he was gone. Nirvan stood alone in the empty warehouse, the key cold in his hand. And for the first time since the wall had broken, he felt something he could name. He felt his brother. Not a memory. Not a ghost. A presence. Warm. Familiar. As if Kaelen was standing right beside him, the way he had when they were children. I'm here. I'll always be here. Nirvan closed his eyes. The bond mark on his brother's neck, the one that had felt so familiar, so wrong, was not the mark of someone who had loved Kaelen. It was the mark of someone who had loved him. It was his. Not as an alpha. As a twin. He opened his eyes. He walked out of the warehouse. Reizen was waiting by the car. He saw Nirvan's face and did not ask. He just opened the door. They drove in silence. But before they reached the funeral home, Nirvan spoke. I want to see the bank. Tomorrow morning. Reizen nodded. I'll take you. And after that, Nirvan paused. After that, I want to know everything. All the names. All the records. I want to know who tried to destroy us. And then, Nirvan looked out the window at the city lights. And then I decide what to do with them. The next morning, they opened the safe deposit box. Inside was a folder. Thick, heavy, filled with documents that spanned 3 decades. And at the bottom, a single photograph. Nirvan picked it up. It was a picture of 2 boys. Identical. Maybe 7 years old. Sitting on a bed in a white room. One of them was holding the other's hand. On the back, in handwriting he did not recognize, was a single sentence. We survive. We always survive. Because we have each other. Nirvan held the photograph. And for the first time in 23 years, he was not alone. If this story stayed with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. There's more where this came from. He put the photograph in his pocket. Beside the letter. Beside the key. Then he looked at Reizen. Let's go to work.